Now, turning to our program, please welcome Marilyn Krause, Principal of Krause Communications, who will introduce our speaker.
Good afternoon, everyone. Whoops. Okay. My friend Anna Simpson is the CEO of Girl Scouts of Wisconsin Southeast. That's the preeminent organization that's dedicated to helping all girls develop confidence, determination, and the skills they need to thrive in today's world. Anna brings 30 years of experience in multiple sectors. They include retail, banking, insurance, and nonprofits. She's got a strong track record of executive leadership and community impact. Before joining the Girl Scouts, she served in several leadership roles and most recently led community and economic development for WHEDA, the Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development Authority. Throughout her career, Anna has been a passionate advocate for equity, entrepreneurship, and leadership development, especially within marginalized and diverse communities. She's held board positions with a number of organizations you would recognize, including Family Service of Waukesha, La Casa de Esperanza, La Familia de Arte, and she currently is the board chair of Tempo Milwaukee. Governor Tony Evers appointed her to the Governor's Council on Financial Literacy and Capability, and she also is a director on the Zilber Family Foundation Board. Anna is a former Girl Scout troop leader, and she's an active mentor to young professional women throughout our area. And she's deeply committed to fostering the next generation of change makers. She's been recognized with numerous honors, including Waukesha Women and Girls Fund, the Women of Distinction Award, the Business Journal's Women of Influence, Tempo Milwaukee's Mentor Award, Madison 365's Wisconsin Most Influential Latino Leaders, and the Waukesha Business Alliance Emerging Leader Award. Please join me in welcoming Anna Simpson.
I'm a little taller. All right, can everybody hear me okay? On both sides of the room? All right. All right, while I'm catching my bearings, I like to do this. Show of hands, who was a Girl Scout? All right, if you want an alumni sticker, I might not have this many, but come see me after, and I got you. Some of us really like stickers. All right, so thank you so much for letting me join today. I'm excited to participate in this important meeting. For those of you that I have not met, Marilyn just provided a really lovely bio that makes me sound fantastic. But my name is Anna Simpson, and I am the proud CEO of Girl Scouts of Wisconsin Southeast. As we come together, I'm going to be sharing some key findings from the recently released Wisconsin Girl Report and Girl Scouts National State of the Girl 2026 report and their relevance to girls in Milwaukee. We'll also walk through some recommendations based on this striking data. If you are here to learn a little bit more about what Girl Scouts of Wisconsin Southeast is currently doing, I'm not going to be touching on that, but find me and we can gladly have that conversation because we are doing some pretty exciting things. All right, so before we begin, I wanted to share one of our traditions with you, the Girl Scout Promise. Girl Scouts of all ages recite and live by the ideals listed in the Girl Scout Promise and Law. Similar to the Rotarian 4-point test, they remind us to do our best in being kind to others, respecting ourselves, making the world a better place, and so much more. So if you'll join me, if you're able to stand, please stand. And raise 3 fingers, allies as well. On my honor, I will try to serve God and my country, to help people at all times, and to live by the Girl Scout law. Now you're all honorary Girl Scouts. including you, Andrew, because I saw you in the audience. All right, thank you. I want to start off with some background. There we go. Girl Scouts of Wisconsin Southeast serves more than 18,000 girl and adult members in the 7 southeastern counties of Wisconsin, so the M7 region. We have a rich 100-plus year history of providing leadership, STEM, outdoor entrepreneurship, and life skills experiences to girls in grades kindergarten through 12th grade in this region. 43% of girls we serve live in Milwaukee County. At GSWise, we are one of 112 councils nationwide. In tandem with our sister councils in Wisconsin, Girl Scouts of Manitou, Northwestern Great Lakes, and Badgerland, we serve over 30,000 girls and 15,000 adult volunteers across the state of Wisconsin. As we continue to meet girls of all backgrounds where they are with relevant programming, experiences, and opportunities, we knew that we needed to better understand where girls are at. What are the key challenges and opportunity areas girls are facing across the state? Our councils work together to produce the Wisconsin Girl Report, which analyzes thousands of data points about the current state of girls in our area. We understand that the conditions today's girls are navigating are no longer exceptions. They are the new baseline. Today, I want to share 2 specific areas of the report that illuminate how girls are doing in Wisconsin and the role we all play in creating communities where they all thrive. I know these issues are important to the Rotary Club at large as you all look to create impact and timely issues in our communities. So first, we'll start with academic achievement, girls' accomplishments in the classroom and beyond. And then we'll talk about the mental health crisis discussed in the national headlines that is very present in Wisconsin. And finally, we'll get into practical steps we can take to work together to improve circumstances for our girls. So I want to start off by talking about STEM. Without a doubt, AI is ushering us into a new wave of technological advancements. When we talk about STEM, and specifically AI right now, we are usually learning about innovation, maybe the impacts of job replacement on all levels and the economy. What is not loud enough is this conversation. While AI may replace jobs in some sectors, in the STEM field, it will create an estimated shortage of 1.4 million workers by 2030. So talking about youth in STEM is a jobs issue. Talking about youth in STEM is an economics issue. Talking about youth in STEM is also a representation issue. Nationally, we are still seeing trends that point to girls trailing boys in science achievements in schools. We point to several contributing factors in this report. 1, implicit bias in discussing or teaching STEM to girls versus boys. And 2, differences in expectations we hold of girls versus boys. In Wisconsin, we see 2 competing truths. Girls are actually not trailing boys in math performance at the same rate as national trends. During the 3rd grade math proficiency exam, 4% fewer girls than boys achieve proficiency levels. The gap closes by 8th grade when slightly more girls than boys achieve proficiency. It's worth mentioning that the 8th grade results indicate that nearly half of all 8th graders in our state are not proficient in math as they enter high school. While narrowing this gap is a notable success, most students in our state continue to need additional support in math. This is similar to what we're observing in science. The national data almost directly mirrors this. In the 4th grade Ford assessment, girls trail boys by 2% in achieving proficiency in science. That gap widens slightly to 3%, while both boys and girls see proficiency decrease by 8th grade. The Wisconsin Girl Report cites research that points to the importance of early interventions to grow girls' STEM identity and confidence and interest. Studies show that girls develop a STEM identity by 3rd grade. So finding significant improvement after 8th grade benchmark grows increasingly unlikely. I'm going to say that again. Girls identify their STEM identity by 3rd grade. So if we're looking at making interventions by 8th grade or as they're older, it's already too late. And the National State of the Girl report shares that by high school, 58% of girls will believe they are not smart enough for their dream job. This gap in STEM achievement is not based on a lack of effort or engagement. By several measures, girls are more academically motivated than boys. In high school, students in Wisconsin have access to advanced placement courses, or AP courses, allowing students to complete AP exams for college credit. 57% of all students taking at least one AP exam are female. Research shows that pursuing advanced courses not only introduces students to advanced content and academic demands, it also allows students to develop perseverance needed to excel in college and beyond. Girls put these AP skills to work as more girls than boys pursue post-secondary education directly following high school. In Wisconsin, in 2024, 14,000 girls were enrolled in an in-state institution compared to just over 11,000 boys. Overall, a higher portion of girls pursue a post-secondary degree following high school over boys. So, it should not be surprising to learn that more women than men in Wisconsin hold post-secondary degrees. 33% of women hold a bachelor's degree or higher compared to 29% of men. Yet, when women declare their major in college, significantly fewer women than men choose an advanced STEM field. While 42% of young men declare a science or engineering degree, 25% of young women elected the same, which is a 19% difference. I'll point out here that a second distinction for STEM-related fields exists that largely contains fields that are related to STEM, but not the primary focus, such as nursing or math education. Young women are also much less likely to pursue business degrees. Together, these two areas comprise, on average, the highest earning career paths for college graduates. So let's recap. Girls in Wisconsin have narrowed or closed the proficiency gap in science and math compared to their male peers. Throughout high school, girls pursue more advanced courses than boys. And a higher portion of girls graduate from high school and directly enroll into college. So arguably, the most qualified, the most motivated, and the largest segment of the college population in our state is not pursuing STEM. At the same time, we face a national shortage of 1.4 million workers in these fields. As a state, we have made remarkable progress in advancing girls' interest and motivation in STEM. And as an organization who has adopted STEM as one of its core pillars, we have seen a huge surge in interest and motivation in STEM. Now, before we talk about how to turn this academic achievement into career pursuits and how to leverage Girl Scouts STEM offerings, I want to turn to a challenge related to life outcomes that is gripping the entire nation. Youth mental health has been plummeting, exacerbated by COVID or the global pandemic. The crisis reached a critical level, so much so that the Surgeon General declared a national state of emergency. We see this emerge in headlines in the most extreme examples of mental health crisis, but I want to break down what this looks like in Wisconsin. First, bullying for this generation looks very different than the experience most of the people in this room encountered in our adolescence. This does not mean words exchanged between classes. This is not a shoulder check among boys in a locker room. This isn't a kick me sign on your back. This is persistent and pervasive teasing, mocking and ridicule in online spaces that adults cannot often see or access. One researcher described that the tragedy of cyberbullying is its ability to be viewed repeatedly and shared widely across a youth's most important social networks. High school girls in Wisconsin report experiencing cyberbullying at higher rates than boys. On a national level, 54% of girls ages 15 to 17 experiences cyberbullying. At a local level, 1 in 5 high school girls reports experiencing cyberbullying, and 1 in 8 reported missing school at least one day due to cyberbullying. And while we want to tell girls to simply just stay offline, 51% of girls ages 11 to 13 feel like they must be online or they'll miss out. The way this pressure shows up is unique to this generation right now. All of this often leaves girls feeling helpless. In a survey among high school girls, 79% report that they do not talk with an adult in their family about their feelings. Part of this is access and comfort level. Part of this may be related to technology. Many girls are then left struggling with complex bullying behavior in spaces adults cannot easily see without the tools or ability to seek help. Our national organization, so GSUSA, recently published a study with stark findings. 52% of girls ages 5 to 7 have trouble getting a parent's attention because the parent is on their phone. When we talk about the differences between girls and boys across the state, I often find that adults are not surprised to find that girls can struggle more with mental health or struggle more with bullying. But I do often find that adults are surprised at the extent to which girls are abusing controlled substances over boys. Girls in Wisconsin are abusing controlled substances more than boys across every measured category, including 2 out of 5 girls vaping tobacco products and 1 in 3 using marijuana or alcohol. The Surgeon General warns that youth who use alcohol before the age of 15 are 4 times more likely to develop a substance abuse disorder into adulthood. Of course, some researchers also point to substance abuse, including adolescent substance abuse, being a symptom more than the problem. This may be true for Wisconsin girls. On top of this, girls are experiencing higher rates of violence compared to their male peers. 1 in 6 high school girls has disclosed that she has experienced sexual violence in her lifetime, which is twice the rate of teenage boys. This is what's being reported. We know that too often physical and sexual abuse goes unreported. But that's an invitation to Carmen Petrie at Sojourner to come and present at a later date. Considering the increased level of bullying, the high rates of sexual violence, and the early substance abuse, it may not be surprising to learn that nearly half of high school girls in Wisconsin exhibit signs of depression. When experts talk about linkages between mental health challenges, there is often a significant link between depression and suicidal ideation. That's because research shows a sad but predictable funnel between exhibiting signs of depression to considering attempting suicide, making a plan, or even attempting suicide. In Wisconsin, 45% of high school girls report feeling sad or hopeless for 2 or more weeks in a row, progressing to 1 in 4 seriously considering attempting death by suicide. Eventually, across the state, 11% of high school girls report actually attempting. Against this challenging backdrop, parents are also calling for help. Over half of parents of girls report difficulty in obtaining mental health treatment, with 1 in 5 reporting it is very difficult or impossible to find care. Again, that's statewide, so you need to consider that we're including rural areas and also lack of providers in our urban areas as well. We don't just need more mental health practitioners, we need an ecosystem of preventative and protective factors that help girls and families avoid mental health crisis. And that is because death by suicide is now the 2nd leading cause of death amongst young people across the state of Wisconsin. It is second, by the way, to unintentional injuries, which include drug overdose. This is what I mean when I say that we are experiencing a mental health crisis. So, what do we do? How do we create communities where girls thrive, where they can reach their full potential? The good news is that many protective factors amongst or almost a social antidote to the crisis we're talking about are within reach for those who care about girls across Wisconsin. So let's start with the work required to continuing to close the STEM gap and support the continued development of a STEM workforce in Wisconsin. Advancing this progress is not just a matter for high school and post-secondary interventions. Research shows, again, that girls establish their STEM identity by 3rd grade. This means their orientation to advanced STEM concepts and STEM careers, their internalized beliefs about whether science and math is for them, and the foundation for these concepts is already laid by the time a girl is 8 years old. So we must focus on integrating early interventions to STEM for our early learners. And these introductions do not need to occur only in a classroom. In fact, girls benefit from hands-on experiences outside the classroom with a peer group and supportive adult members. In these environments, girls can explore their interests and take more risks without the academic pressure of performing well and achieving good grades. And when we are designing experiences for youth to cultivate interest in STEM, girls benefit from a variety of experiences. Not only is the STEM field expansive with many opportunities to explore passions and careers, youth benefit from sampling. So what I mean by that is often parents find it frustrating that young kids want to bounce from one activity to the next or one interest to the next. But it's actually a good thing. Sampling refers to trying out a variety of experiences to discover your natural strengths and curiosities. When it comes to STEM, the more is better. At Girl Scouts, we continue to offer a variety of STEM experiences to all ages. We offer programming related to coding and engineering, as well as hands-on experiences and nearby racetracks and raceways, and also partnerships with colleges like Milwaukee School of Engineering. The same is true when we talk about supporting positive mental wellness for girls. The more caring adults, the better. To this point, I want to talk about 2 research studies that are considered foundational in youth development and mental health. The first is a groundbreaking longitudinal study that proves intergenerational trauma exists at a cellular and biological level. Following the attacks of 9/11, researchers worked with female employees who were pregnant and working in the Twin Towers at the time of their collapse. These survivors offered a unique, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to more deeply understand the impacts of acute intergenerational trauma. What's tragic and remarkable at the same time is that at the time of birth, the infants who experienced the 9/11 attacks in utero had the markings of PTSD, with lower cortisol levels and higher distress responses compared to their control group. That remained true for 10 years when they retested. Right now, we're observing a generation of young women displaying the highest levels of anxiety and depression ever recorded. If we don't intervene and help young women to reduce these symptoms, we are also at risk of seeing higher rates of mothers and children displaying higher levels of stress responses. The second study I want to mention from a groundbreaking trauma researcher, Dr. Bruce Perry, one of his many studies about youth trauma found that in order for youth to thrive, they need a minimum of 5 caring adults in their lives. As an example, at Girl Scouts, research shows that often girls feel most confident confiding in and trusting in their troop leader. It often outreaches parents. By providing girls with positive role models, we're helping to break the cycle and giving girls the trusted adult resources they need to thrive. Overall, girls also benefit when we normalize mental health conversations. In our homes, in our schools, in organizations supporting youth, conversations about mental and emotional health must be as common as physical health. As easily as we talk about getting a bit of exercise, eating a balanced meal, seeing our physicians, we must talk about handling big emotions, seeking help and connection when we're feeling low, and using positive outlets in challenging times. When we give girls the resources and connections to talk about mental health and connecting them to caring adults, we see life-changing results. The Girl Scout Research Institute conducted a study seeking to understand the role of the organization in supporting positive mental health. The first obstacle in supporting positive mental health is providing girls a place where mental health can be discussed without shame or stigma. Among all the areas of her life, girls were asked where they experienced the most positive view of mental health. Above the overall community, above their school, above even their family, more girls said Girl Scouts holds a positive view of mental health. Girls and Girl Scouts felt safe about talking about mental health. Researchers went further, asking what exactly about Girl Scouts helped them to feel supported. More so than their Girl Scout council, more so than their programming, the more supportive aspect of a Girl Scout for girls was their troop leader. The role of supportive adults in organizations across Wisconsin serve to lift up girls as one of the 5 key adults they need to thrive. A single consistent adult who chooses to show up can shift her trajectory. As an organization, we continue to provide research-based training to our volunteers to equip them to be safe, trusted resources for girls, and we continue to provide new mental health programming to help girls progressively learn about, understand, and cope with their mental health at all ages. During this research, one Girl Scout noted how she hit an all-time low during the pandemic. She shared that amidst stress at home, a challenging school environment, and increasing social pressures, Girl Scouts was a place she felt supported. And looking back, her troop leader probably saved her life. It is within reach in the state of Wisconsin and the city of Milwaukee to empower and equip more adults to serve as champions of girls. And that goes beyond Girl Scouts. Community organizations, youth supporters, educators, and everyone in between need to work together to provide solutions for girls in our area. We know what's working, so I urge you to continue to pursue those. In terms of STEM, are you working with organizations that give girls safe spaces to test out STEM, where they're not afraid to try, fail, and try again? In terms of mental health, let's talk about it. The more we talk about it and normalize it and give girls spaces to talk about it, the more we can provide, the more care we can provide for our girls. So, my 5 asks. Here are some simple tasks that you can take individually or as organizations. 1, fund what works. The evidence is clear, back what's been validated. And a little note, if you look at philanthropy nationally, only 2% of all philanthropic dollars are given to girl and women organizations. 2%. And so when we talk about that girls are outperforming their male peers and they're the bulk of your upcoming workforce, I often talk about individuals and employers leaning in closer to organizations like Girl Scouts, and this is why. Because when we talk about equity, I think 2% means we're nowhere near equitable. 2, tell the story. Talk about the girls showing us how to meet the moment. 3, lead where you are. Use your platforms, networks, and capital you already hold to build the infrastructure that girls need. 4, human-centered design. Listen first, build later. And 5, show up while she's becoming. Get proactive. So with that, last year we had a pretty powerful marketing campaign called She Will, and I would like to share the video with you.
She will blaze trails. She will blaze trails. She will break barriers. She will climb higher and dream bigger. She will stand strong in the face of challenges. She will lead with courage, confidence, and character. We believe in empowering every girl to do more than just imagine greatness. We give her the tools to achieve it. Girl Scout of Wisconsin Southeast. She will.
So I just wanted to quickly say thank you to Melissa and the Rotary Club of Milwaukee for this invitation to come in. Again, if you would like to learn more about what we are currently doing to support girls across this region and why you should lean in closer, I welcome you to reach out. I'd never turn a good coffee down. So please reach out. So with that, questions?
Thank you very much for that overview. I'm Anne Marie, and I'll be moderating our microphone today. Looks like Fred's first up.
Is he trouble?
Am I the only question? Yeah, my name is Fred. No, I'm really not trouble, but my daughter is a leader in Ozaukee County. And my questions, since nobody else is standing here, what collaborators does Girl Scouts have in other areas, also dealing with young women? And where's the best place to be a girl right now? And are Girl Scouts prominent in rural, urban, and suburban areas equally? Or is there a place where Girl Scouts haven't really reached because of whether it's population density or support from other programs, competition from other programs that serve girls and things like that? And my kids have been involved in 4-H and Girl Scouts, and my grandkids the same thing. So there are other programs where they get guidance. So Thank you.
Okay, I think you asked 3 questions. I got who's leaning in, and I got where are we not reaching? What did I miss?
Best place to be a girl?
Where are you reaching? Who are the collaborators you're dealing with? And then where's the best place to be a girl right now?
Best place to be a girl right now. Southeast Wisconsin. All right, so who's leaning in collaborators? I'll name a couple of the organizations that we do partner with, just as an example. So Rockwell Automation is a big supporter of ours. Generac is a big supporter. We have programming with hospital systems like Freighter. And so there are several large organizations that have maybe a more structured, formal partnership with us. But we also have community event providers that if you want to learn more about, you can talk to Sue, who's waving at the end of this program. But at the end of the day, one of the things that, so when we talk about collaborators and what's important, back to the beginning of my presentation, we have over 12,000 girls who are Girl Scouts in this region, which that number is normally surprising to individuals that it's that many. And I often talk about that is your future workforce. And when you look at our girls who are high school age Girl Scouts, I will put them up against any other student in this region. They are absolutely impressive in how they show up. And so when I think about our future workforce, our future politicians, like any sector, that is who you want to lean closer into. And so I would challenge anyone, whether it's a small business or a large corporation, we should be having conversations. We should be thinking about how we can collaborate, and we should lean in. We're very flexible in terms of the way that can show up, and it shows up in many different ways. One of the things that I was sharing with Greer, did I pronounce that correct? Yeah. Earlier is that we're starting a girls in healthcare medical track this year because we recognize that a lot of our girls are going into medical fields, and we really want to expose them to more advanced STEM opportunities. So yes, we need nurses, we need CNAs, but we also need more female thoracic surgeons, right? We know that leaning in and having partnerships with our medical systems is going to help expose girls to things that they may not have even envisioned as a potential of a career. So I hope that kind of answers your question. Where is a great place to be a girl? Yes, Southeast Wisconsin. We're starting to do a lot of pretty amazing things. This summer we took 49 girls to Washington, D.C. For a civic and cultural experience. They worked on their democracy badge all year long leading up to that experience, and these were all high school girls. And so, part of what we're looking at also is that ecosystem, right, in our community, and how are we creating responsible citizens that will be, our future adults and leaders in this community, and that not only is a workforce need, but it's also how do we get people more civically engaged and understand the importance in our democratic process, right, and really understand how that works. So that's just another example of some of the kind of cool things that we're doing, and that was a completely free trip for all the families that got to send their daughters, so shout out to the Herb Cole Foundation and a few others. And then where are we not reaching? So what I will say is that there's no place that we are not reaching, but historically, our market share is going to be higher in suburban areas. And our market share tends to be lower in urban areas. And so even though our population is higher in urban areas, if you think about the history of Girl Scouts and who has been Girl Scouts traditionally, and who maybe has the flexibility in their workday to fall into our traditional Girl Scout model of being a troop leader, it bodes better in suburban areas, and because you still have that density, but you also have more of a history and knowledge of Girl Scouts. However, if you go across, whether it's suburban, urban, or rural areas, you're going to see Girl Scouts across the state. And what our council looks like is going to differ maybe a little bit than Northwestern Great Lakes, right? That is, above, I-8 or Highway 8, because they have to. So they have like this huge bus essentially where they do mobile programming and they bring it out to rural communities. So it can look different in different ways, but I think no matter what Girl Scout Council it is, we're all looking at how are we meeting girls where they're at, and how are we pivoting as organizations to ensure that there are opportunities for all girls to be a Girl Scout. So I hope I answered your questions.
Jeff Smoller. At the national level, there's contentiousness between the Boy Scouts, or used to be the Boy Scouts, and Girl Scouts in terms of financial resources and rating the other side for members, et cetera, et cetera. Have you seen any implication in your area of the loss of girls to formerly Boy Scouts, or any other evidence of the bad relations between Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts?
Yeah, I asked for Andrew to get kicked out, but nobody listened to me. I'm just kidding. I mean, can I speak on our behalf? Yeah, I think in our area, that really isn't an issue. Andrew and I know each other. We've met, several times for coffee or at our offices. We've met at each other's offices. We'll call each other up when we have questions that we know, his question is a Boy Scout question, but we run similar type organizations. And so we'll lean on each other sometimes of like, hey, are you doing this? Or hey, have you seen this? Or what security system did you use for that? So we don't have that in this area. And quite frankly, I haven't seen like this mass exodus to Boy Scouts from girls. Typically what I'll see is if you have a family where the older siblings are boys, from a convenience standpoint, you see a lot of families saying like, well, I'm already taking my boys to Scouting America. I don't want to have to like divide and conquer. I'll have my girl join their pack, or is that right? Pack? Yes. Or what I've also seen, which I think is pretty badass, pardon the French, is that I'll have older Girl Scouts that have worked on their bronze, silver, and gold awards that all of a sudden think to themselves, if I join Scouting America, what I'm doing for Girl Scouts is going to count towards my eagle. So I'm going to do both. And I can't fault them. Go for it. I love that. So I know that there's been some history, but it doesn't really concern me because I like to collaborate. So, yeah.
Kathleen O'Brien, won't be a surprise, I'm a lifelong Girl Scout.
I love it.
Jeff Smollett just took my question.
Okay.
So, but I did ask my table about this very question about girls joining Boy Scouts. Mm-hmm. And one of the things they pointed out, and maybe this isn't true here in the Milwaukee area, but there really aren't programming specific to girls and Boy Scouts. Is that so?
I will defer to Andrew to answer that question. I'm not going to speak on behalf of his organization, so maybe that's a presentation for a different day. Fair? Okay.
Hi, Anna. Elizabeth
Hi, Elizabeth.
Szynski with the Wisconsin Policy Forum, but more importantly, mother to 3 young girls, 2 of which are in Girl Scouts right now. I loved your presentation. I took copious notes.
That's a compliment coming from the Wisconsin Policy Forum.
I usually don't take notes, but I took notes today. Thank you for the great presentation and the 5 takeaways. As parents, grandparents, even community and business leaders, what can we be doing on a daily basis in our daily interactions with girls to help them become the most confident, capable iterations of themselves?
Love that. I think some of the stuff is obvious, but maybe not obvious. I think that, and we talked about this, or I talked about this a little bit in the presentation of what is a girl's STEM identity and what are some of the biases that, can happen. So whether it's you as a parent, but also watching other people that have access to your girls and ensuring that they are not, putting ideas in their heads in regards to what they cannot do. Also, I spoke about allowing girls that opportunity to try and try again and in safe spaces. And I will say this, that one of the things, like people will ask me, right, like why Girl Scouts over other organizations? And I think people have asked that in regards to why Marquette High School, why DSHA, right? I do think that there is something that is kind of special about being in a single gendered space where you can try things without judgment, especially at those critical ages where you're kind of concerned of, and I'll give you a great example that someone gave me the other day and I was like, ooh, that's a great one. At camp, we have a rock climbing wall. Have you ever looked at what you look like when you're climbing on a rock climbing wall, like the straps, and so if even myself, like if I was, which I'm totally terrified of heights, but if I was gonna go up the rock climbing wall, I would be more inclined to do it in front of just women, and there's no way that you would catch me in that getup in front of men with like stuff hanging out, right? But girls, right, are very self-conscious and at earlier ages. And so even things like that where, there are situations where it's like, well, I don't want to try and fail and now I have this cute boy that I have a crush on and he's going to see it, right? So something about those single gendered spaces allow girls that freedom to explore and try things without judgment. But again, like the ability even for parents, like let them try the things, let them dabble. And the way I talk about Girl Scouts, because some people are like, I don't have the time. And I'm like, you're talking about 2 hours a month that can lead to having your girl become an incredible leader. If you look at Fortune 500, 100 companies, if you look at all female astronauts but one were Girl Scouts. If you look at CEOs of major corporations that are women, Girl Scouts. And we have the longitudinal data because Girl Scouts has been around since 1912. When you look at women in politics, if you look at women in leadership, Girl Scouts will outperform non-Girl Scout in the data of like who becomes a leader. So the data's there to the data person.
Hi, I was a Girl Scout until college. And
Amazing.
I really, really think that was very important for my formation. So I'm all for Girl Scouts, but I want to know, what is the state of recruitment for Scout leaders?
My team. So I will say that it is a challenge. I will often talk about my own experience because I think sometimes when we have conversations about privilege, people, sometimes get sensitive about it, but privilege can look in many different ways. And when we talk about some of the difficulties that we have forming troops in urban areas, it's because it's not that you have people that don't want to be leaders, but you might have parents that are working 2-3 jobs just to put food on the table. So guess what? They don't have the time, and they're working jobs where they're essential workers and can't just walk away from what they're doing to volunteer at their girls' troop. So I have a 30-year-old daughter and I have a 25-year-old daughter. I was a co-leader for both of their troops. And I often talk about my experience that I was working in banking at the time. And, when you work at most places like that, they expect that you're giving back to your community. So my way of giving back at that time was, I'm going to be a co-leader for both of my girls, because then it meant that I was giving back, but I was doing it in a way that I could spend time with my daughters. But I talk about the fact that I had the privilege of that I could leave in the middle of the workday and go do the thing. And when Girl Scouts were formed, most women were stay-at-home moms. That's not the case anymore. So that's definitely one of the challenges that we face. I would assume that it's a challenge for Scouting America as well. And we have to continue to meet parents where they're at and think about how do we transform and change what our programming looks like so that it is feasible for families to be a part of Girl Scouting. One of the ways is that a girl doesn't have to be a part of a troop. She can be an individually registered member. She can participate in council-wide events. So again, there are other avenues that you can be a Girl Scout and not have to do it the traditional troop model way. You can be an individual member. You can work on badges on your own. You can go to council-wide events. We have, for the older Girl Scouts, we have several cohorts. I talked about the upcoming medical cohort, but we have a media cohort. We have a leadership cohort already that exists. So there are new ways that girls can plug in, have the experience, but yet not have to be part of a troop. You're welcome.
We have time for 2 quick questions.
All right, keeping along the lines of the leadership, the stat that the troop leaders are the most
Trusted adult.
Are those troop leaders being coached or trained with all the mental health problems going on?
Yeah, you must have taken a little nap. I mentioned that. I'm just kidding. Yes, so we are doing mental health training for our troop leaders, but in addition to that, actually, we have had to recently look at the amount of training that we do, because the amount of training that we do can become a barrier to actually getting troop leaders to agree to be a troop leader because of the extent of training that we do. So anything from conflict resolution to being able to identify when a girl is in a mental health crisis, right? So as a trusted adult to several girls, there are many facets of keeping girls safe, right? And one of them is, are you able to identify when a girl is in crisis and you may need to intervene? Troop leaders, we're all mandatory reporters, right? If there's some other harm happening within a girl's life. So there's extensive training that goes into being a troop leader, and all of that is addressed. And all of it is progressive as well, at the girl level and with volunteers as well. But thank you for the question. Hi, Jenny.
Good to see you. It's actually the same topic, but the mental health data is certainly concerning, to say the least. Are you in any way collaborating with United Way of Greater Milwaukee and Waukesha County, as they have identified youth mental health as an initiative? And if so, could you briefly share that with us?
We currently are not, but the initiative, as I understand it, for the United Way, and again, I don't like to speak for other organizations, that's deployed through specific schools. And so we would be what would be considered like a tertiary provider. So currently, we are not. Thank you.